My session is about how AI is shaping the metaverse experiences. I'm one of the many speakers today who talk about AI because it's such a hot topic today. But first, what do you really need for a metaverse experiences? Of course, you need hardware, mobile phone or a desktop or laptop or VR, AR glasses. They are at a quite good level today. Then, of course, you need content. Otherwise, the metaverse experience will be quite boring if there is nothing there. And the next, you need some people, or you need AI-driven people to have some fun and socialize yourself, because otherwise the experience is going to be quite boring if you are alone in your own metaverse. But what I come to see, the biggest blocker for the companies to get into the metaverse is not actually the hardware, because as I said, it's quite good level already on today. Not everyone have VR glasses, but nowadays the metaverse quite nicely scales to browsers or computers. So you don't necessarily need any more VR glasses or AR glasses, but the actual blocker is content producing, because there's a limited number of 3D artists and 3D developers who are able to do, but luckily we have now AI for the rescue that can help you to do content to your metaverse. So I'm going to speak about how to create content with 3D content with AI. And of course, one of the hot topics is NERF. So before diving into NERF, actually, let's go back to what we talk about as photogrammetry. Photogrammetry is an old technique before NERF. And let me explain a little bit if you are not familiar with the concept of photogrammetry. So basically what it is, let's put a video here to showing an example. You take your mobile phone, scan around your place or an object, and it takes multiple pictures, about 200 or even 2000, and then it stitches them together and make a 3D model. But it has some limitations, and it's not good when the object has reflective surfaces. So NERF comes to rescue in this case. But what is NERF? It's neural radiance fields. So as you saw, photogrammetry stitches pictures together to create a 3D model. NERF, of course, takes also pictures, a lot of pictures, but instead of just stitching them together, it actually learns from machine learning and computer vision how the object is formed. So if you have holes, not perfect 3D model of those pictures, it can actually fill in the gaps. So it's much more intelligent in that way than the old photogrammetry. But the video explains more. So how the object actually forms with the help of artificial intelligence. So as you can see, it also uses a lot of pictures, but it with more intelligent way makes the 3D object. And the nice thing is that you can actually create the model within minutes. And then the new thing is Gaussian splatting. Please don't let me to explain that to you, because I haven't quite figured it out myself yet. But it also uses artificial intelligence, but a little bit different algorithm than NERF does. It uses radiance fields as well, but in a different way. But what you do want to remember is that it does use artificial intelligence in a way that it needs less material, less photos, and is much more faster. So in that way, it's even better than NERF. Here is a video. There is no sound, so don't mind about that. But it's showing a little bit glimpse of what Gaussian splatting is. But I am still at the nerve stage, so let me explain what I did. I used my iPhone 12, then I used a nerve tool which runs in actually mobile phone, 3D Presso. I did a little bit cleaning of the 3D model in Blender, and a little bit file conversion, so to get that into augmented reality. But basically what I did, within a couple of minutes, I wanted to capture this snowman statue. So I just pressed video and ran around the object, and then I downloaded in the cloud, 3D Presso cloud, and what I had now a digital twin of my snowman statue. Again, there is no sound, but you can see which one is real, which one is digital virtual copy. And just to let you know. Yes. And now that object can be used in augmented reality, in virtual reality, or in the web. Here is my spatial I/O metaverse, and you can see my snowman is hanging in my metaverse. Or you can use it in multiple ways. I really like the app Mirage, and where you can combine 2D objects with 3D objects. You can specify the camera angle, and what is really nice, that you can combine the background with your 3D items, prompt the style, and here you go. For example, you can have a company Christmas card, season's greeting card. I used here my snowman, and I wanted to make it to go to Lapland and have a nice holiday in that Lapland. So this is probably going to be my Christmas card. But let's not stop here. In the earlier case, I was capturing something that does exist in the real world, like the snowman. But what if you want to create content that doesn't exist in real world? And this is a good example how to make 3D models with prompts, and you don't have to be a prompt engineer. I use here prompt as simple as fancy shelf, because I don't have imagination. So I prompted fancy shelf. This is what I got. I think it's quite good quality 3D model. And as you can see, there is a lot of options that you can configure your 3D model, because sometimes you don't get with prompts exactly what you wanted. So there is a lot of options to modify it a lot more. And then, of course, you can download it as OBJ or GLB. So you can import that if you're using game engine or some other tool, and decorate your metaverse. Here, for example, these spaces are from VRChat metaverse, and they have used Sloyd AI to decorate their spaces. And if you are not familiar with the game engine, this is quite nice no-code tool called Stilly. So if you combine these tools, you are able to build your own perfect metaverses. One more app I want to mention is 3D-Fi. It makes quite nice furniture and also other objects with just prompting. Here is, again, no imagination, just a wooden office table with metal legs. But with quick prompts, you are able to decorate your spaces the way you want, which is nice. And then I tested prompting with characters, and it's not quite there yet. It's easier to do with things that do exist, like furniture or gaming assets. But here, as you can see, I'm a big fan of Wednesday Addams, and I wanted to make that. but no, not yet, but maybe soon. But some of the speaker mentioned that sometimes prompting is difficult because you have to learn how to make good prompts. So maybe instead of trying prompts, you can use image or video as the source format to get what you actually want. So generate your 3D assets with reference images or videos. And this is one of my favorite tools called Caddy. Here you can see my robot. It's called Bobobot. And I wanted to make a 3D model because I'm not a good 3D artist. I'm just still learning. And you can quite nicely put things like your name, how much polygons are you going to have? Do you want to have low poly model, which works better in the web browser environment, or do you want to get high poly, which works better for high definition apps? And of course, my Bobobot is a not baby, but a toddler, so it's not adult height. And you can define how good quality you want your model to be. And this is very simple. You can upload 5 more files, but I did just want to see how it comes out. And I think this is actually great model. No textures here. I would have to pay a little bit extra to get textures, but the materials look nice. And as you can see, the mesh is still very clean, very good looking. So I actually can work with this model more in a Blender or other tool. And I wanted to test a little bit more complex. In this case, I wanted to take part on hair model competition, and I wanted to have this genderless character with the rainbow hair, because I can't do this in the Blender on my own. I use an app called Common Sense Machines. I'll download the picture, and this is what I got. Pretty nice. Actually, the hairstyle is more stylish than what my original plan was. But when I look the model in the Blender, it's really high poly, and the texture was still a little bit messy. So a lot of time I would have to spend making retopology, so cleaning the model still. So friendly reminder, when you take new AI tools in use, sometimes they slow down you a bit. Of course, you need to learn how to use them where they are at the best, but sometimes I found myself that actually the cleaning work needs more time than what I originally would have done manually with the same process. But it's also learning where the AI is good and where you are still good. And the other thing what I have learned is that there is no just one magical tool that can do all, not at least yet, but you need to take several tools, and this is good at this stage, this tool is good at this stage, and using one input as another tool's output, and then you get the best results. And if you're not familiar with doing your own models or using reference images, the one thing you have to remember is that only use good quality source material, because AI works in that way that if your source material is not good quality, of course, you will get bad quality outputs as well. So as one person says, garbage in, you get garbage out. And if you have worked with text or images, generative AI tools such as ChatGPT or Bing or Midjourney, they're very easy to do. So you might wonder, why is it still so hard to make 3D assets with AI? And that's because 3D models contain so much more information. The first thing is, of course, the mesh, the polygons, which makes the topology of the 3D model. On the top of that, it's so-called textures, how it actually looks like. And then there is materials, that it's more like a math, how the light is reflecting from that object. And then there is the camera. Where is the camera located? Then there is a rigging of the model, how the model is going to move, where are the bones, how is it structured, and then there is still animation. Of course, you need rigging first to get your character to move. So that much information. Oh, and I forgot even lights. So there can be multiple lights in the scenes. So much information. Then there are so many formats that store the data in a different way. So it's not easy task for AI to make those kind of models. Okay, one of the things in the metaverse is that you want to play with objects that interact with you. It's so much more fun, the experience, that when you touch or click something, it interacts with you. And of course, that means that you have to have animation with your objects. And that's quite painful, as you are, like me, learning 3D artist. And there is one tool where you can actually prompt the 3D model plus animate it, but it's still in the closed beta, so I haven't been able to test it. But here goes a Spider-Man, and it's walking. It's look like the sand is hot, like ouch, 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 ouch. But we are getting there. And the other tool is a tool I hope I will pronounce it's correctly, Cascadeur, where the AI assists to make the bones move the way you want. So if you move hand, it kind of moves the shoulder with it. So it gets more natural movement, but you still are able, as a learner, to also unnatural things. But it helps to smooth out the keyframes between your animation. And bear with me, testing again, yet another animation tool. Before, when you did animation, you needed very expensive hardware to motion capture all your movements. But nowadays, the videos have become much more smarter. So if you have a smartphone and video yourself, you are able actually to transfer those movements into your 3D characters. So here I'm dancing as a robot, yay! And also doing some jamming with Alien. And this is so super easy to use. You just download a video and the AI does the magic. And of course, you can export those characters and bring them to Metaverse. Here, testing another tool called Rococo. And that company also has expensive tracking hardware, but very basic level video tracking. And as you can see, I'm not still perfect 3D artist. The head is not following my movements, but I'm happy that I'm still a little bit better dancer than my doppelganger in Avatar. So on the right, you can see a Ready Player Me avatar, which is quite popular form of avatars, and you can take, and they are rigged, so you are able to transfer your animation straight to a character. And here it goes. No music here. But I really love the slogan, what Runway says, turn anything into everything. And this is what I think the generative AI is much about, turning anything into everything. Because when you nowadays have 3D models and they are animated, you can actually use them as an input to make a video output. And Runway does it very nicely. So here is a motion captured stick figure. And you put that as an input in Runway, and you can define the style and get a video output. So multiple ways to use your 3D assets with AI. But let's get more into volumetric captures, because we just started with the video format, so let's continue more. What is volumetric capture? Before, I talked about photogrammetry, and it's basically capturing items that are still, so they don't move. But volumetric capture is when you want to capture something that is, like me, dancing, speaking, moving. So it's much more vivid format of capturing. And basically use capture usually living humans. This is an example. Here you can see it actually is 3D, so it's not so-called partial volumetric capture, but it's a true 3D model of that person. And what is very nice with the volumetric captures, because you can take a real person, put that into virtual world, into metaverses, use it in an augmented reality. For example, fashion shows are made in that way, that you can have a fashion show in your living room with the volumetric captures. Here's another example, what the company called Arcturus is doing. So making captures, putting them into new places, some dancing shows. Some of the characters were not really there, with only augmented reality, having commercials. And yes, I mentioned fashion shows. Very good case of using volumetric captures. Okay, then my favorite topic is bringing your 3D characters alive with artificial intelligence. We have recently seen a lot of use cases with large language models. So on the top of large language models such as GPT-4, you build your own model, and then your character can speak the way you have given the data, meaning in the company case that your character may speak a company-specific information. And one of the good plugins in Unreal Engine is a plugin called In-World, where you can build those kind of characters. And don't get confused that this looks like a gaming content, but in the real case, you can use the exact same tools for more serious purposes, like building an avatar for your company. But in my case, I used this BoboBot as an example, and with the in-world tool, you can start building your character the way you want. The tone of the voice, for example, my BoboBot is funny, silly, kind-hearted, childish, friendly, and it's still learning. You can give a description, goals, how it's going to behave in certain kind of situation, give the personality traits. For example, here it is joyful and peaceful and all kind of that. But on the top of that, you can actually talk with your character. So this uses voice technology 11 Labs. So before taking your 3D model, speaking alive 3D model into Metaverse, you can test a little bit. Does it feel good? How about interacting with it? So So I was really struggling with saying Bobo Butt, the name correctly, but because my character was friendly, so he didn't care about that. But as you see, I had a lot of fun talking with my character. Another example that is a lot more advanced, but using the same technology, is character called Inokin. So let's see when you have a chance to talk with a little bit more advanced character.
Apologies, Krista. We don't seem to be having the audio coming through on this video.
Okay. Okay, I just heard that the audio doesn't come through in this video, but it's a pity because this character has a lot of emotion in his voice and also making emotes, reactions, how the person is saying. So that's unfortunate that you can't hear this character speaking. But let's step on one stage further, that what is the metaverse actually going to be in one day, that there are going to be more than just one AI-driven character. And I really admire this example by NVIDIA and Max Planck Institutes, where they gave a task to multiple AI-driven characters. And you can see there is no sound in this one, but they carry boxes together, and they were able to do movements that was not in the training set. And this the old chair play, but everyone gets their share of chair. But kind of starting to think that do we need the humans anymore, because the AI-driven agents humans are getting more intelligence. But that's not the topic of my speech today. And then what is happening with the metaverse tools and gaming engines? Typically, they help, like Microsoft Copilot, assist you with the content creation, with both inner coding and both with the creator tools. And because Roblox is one of the forerunners in this industry, I show an example of what they are doing. So typically they have an assistant, they kind of Copilot, where you can prompt things. So in real time, you are able to create the surroundings, the characters, what you want there to be. And I believe this is going to be soon in many gaming engines. Unity already has its closed beta of the similar kind of tools. But yeah, I'm starting to be in the end of my speech, but of course I wanted to make a virtual twin of myself and let her to speak the final word. And of course, please rate my speech. But yes, there were so many tools that I didn't have maybe time to show. So maybe my final words is that when you are starting to use new AI tools, especially when you're starting with the startup companies, please read the terms of service very carefully, because they want to take your data, they want to train their model with your data, and that's not just all. There's sometimes really predatory terms of services, like one AI startup I started to use, but then I read the terms of service and they wait a minute, they're actually taking my voice and using it for their commercial purposes, taking all the rights to use my voice. I was like, hey, I still have the copyright for my own voice, so that was a no-go. So remember to read the terms of service And the other thing I would like to say is that maybe it's time to start thinking about your content strategy. As I mentioned, anything can be turned into everything. So when you think about when you're starting to have 3D assets and new marketing videos, how you can match and mix all those kind of new ideas are starting to appear. 3D allows you to have more cross-functionality in augmented reality, in virtual reality, in running in the 3D browser. So think about the ways you are able to use this new kind of content. And yeah, one more thing is maybe that is the hot topic is IPR. You might not able to copyright the content of you create with generative AI tools, not until you really put a lot of human involvement into that. So bear that also in mind. Thank you.